gonna try the shocking door handle here. Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video we're gonna be going over a Mercedes G Wagon that has been completely decked out by Armor Max. So they've done some crazy upgrades on this. This actually has a tack dispenser, smoke screen, and electric door handles, which, yes, sadly, I'm probably gonna get electrocuted today, but it'll be worth it. So a huge shout out to Armor Max. I'm gonna include a link to their inventory in the description of this video. Definitely check them out. And they don't just equip vehicles like this G Wagon, they do pretty much everything. So whether you have a sports car or an SUV or a truck, doesn't matter what it is, they can do anything as simple as like bulletproof glass, all the way up to obviously electrocuting door handles and smoke screens. So let's get into it. Now under the hood, we have a hand-built 5.5 liter twin turbo V8 that's paired to a 7-speed automatic transmission. Power outputs are 563 horsepower and then 561 pound-feet of torque, and a 0 to 60 time of about 5.3 seconds. Now this one does have the armor added to it, which would make it a little bit slower, but it's kind of the equivalent of having a couple passengers, so it really doesn't affect the 0 to 60 time all that much. Now, one really neat thing that Armor Max has added to this G63 is on the hood itself. So this is fully armored, as you guys can see on the hood, which is another crazy little feature of this, and we'll go over more of those a little bit later in the video, but I thought I'd just show that to you guys. Now going over the front end of the G63, you guys already remember that the hood has been reinforced. Now the next cool thing is the fenders have also been reinforced on the G Wagon. So if you had like a side collision or something like that, you've got reinforcement there to protect the engine and all that, so you can keep on driving. Now this one doesn't have it, but you can get protection for the radiator, which I think is just really neat. It's kind of random, but it's neat. And then you can get ram bars at the front. This one, again, doesn't have it, but it is an option that you can add. Mercedes does give you this, so this kind of looks aggressive, but it's just not the same as getting a ram bar on it. And other than that, that's the front end, and that's all the reinforcement that's been added to the front end as well. Now, coming to the side here, we're first gonna focus on the tires. This does come with run flats, which is just absolutely crazy, and you guys will see a like full factory tour where I'll show you kind of like the inside of a run flat and what that looks like. But you've got run flats on the sides, and then coming to the side here, we'll kind of go over this more in a little bit, but the doors are reinforced and then the windows are reinforced as well. You've got the bulletproof glass, and because the doors are reinforced, it does change things with the window operation. We'll go over that when we are inside the G Wagon, but this is everything from the side, and you guys will notice the signature exhaust tips out the side instead of out of the rear. That actually helps with ground clearance on the G Wagon, but it also makes it look really cool. Just wanted to briefly show you guys the key fob for this G63. Pretty cool looking key fob. It's like Mercedes normal key fob, nothing too crazy there, but the exciting stuff is what's about to happen here on the back. Actually, coming to the rear, we have a couple of pretty neat features back here. So you do have a tack release. Now it's under the G Wagon. It's kind of hard to see, but basically what that does is it just releases tacks onto the road. So if someone was chasing after you, whatever, just drop some tacks, all that kind of stuff. And then the G Wagons do have pretty interesting door release back here. So they do that kind of like old school door, just like what the Jeep Wranglers have. And remember, this is all reinforced as well back here. Now you guys can actually see the storage space here in the rear. Even with all this armoring, you still get the same amount of storage space. Nothing has been changed with that. And this loading floor, I mean, it's massive. Now these humps here in the back, they do get in the way a little bit, but it's not bad by any means. But I mean, that's what every single G Wagon has regardless. And well, that's the rear. Now, one last thing I wanted to talk to you guys about was just the overall design here in the rear on the G Wagon, since we've actually never reviewed a G Wagon for the channel. So they do the spare tire there on the back, which is just like super like old school military look, which I think is really cool. You have all your regular badging as well. And then obviously they've reinforced everything with the back. So you've got all that reinforcement there. You've got the bulletproof glass. And now we got to test out that smoke screen with the exhaust tips, because I mean, it's important. So we just filled the G Wagon up with a little bit more. He's getting the engine all warmed up, which not sure if you guys can hear me. coming to the side here, you actually have the most satisfying door handle sound of all time. So you have that clicking sound when you open it, and then when you shut it, it sounds so solid. And the doors are a little bit heavier from the reinforcement, but it's not bad by any means. They're actually still pretty easy to open. Now look at the door panel itself. You still get to keep all of the quilted leather, all of the nice touch points that it has. You don't have to give up any of that, even though you do the reinforcement on the G-Wagon. Now the windows do work. The one thing I will say about the windows is most reinforced vehicles, they actually take away the window functionality on them. And so what they do is basically the power operation no longer works because you have all the reinforcement in the door, and so it makes it very difficult to make it so that the window can operate up and down. You have to put a lot of power through the motors themselves to make that still operate. But this one, it has it, and it adds quite a bit of weight to the door just to have the windows work. Now, other than that, here are the seats in the rear, and again, you don't get to lose any of the luxury that you have. So even though this is a crazy reinforced vehicle and basically a tank, you still get all the same like luxury touch points and all of that. And I'll show you guys the window thing now. So one thing that I quickly want to mention here in the back is, again, you don't lose any space compared to a regular G-Wagon here, even with the armoring that's happened. So headroom's all the same, legroom, all that stuff is the same, and the windows still work. Now obviously they aren't going to go down as low, so you kind of just get this little angle, but you guys can see just how thick this glass is with the window down. I mean, it's just crazy. So yeah, that's definitely going to stop some bullets if they are fired at this car. That is just insane. Pretty slow to go up, but I mean, it's a really heavy window, you can imagine. We're gonna try the shocking door handle here, and I haven't been electrocuted since I was a little kid and put like a fork in a power outlet. So this will be an experience for me. Ah. It's like you cannot grab onto the handle. I'm gonna try that again just one more time. It kind of freaks me out, but it's like, the best way to describe it is, obviously electrocution kind of feels like a little bit of a burning pain. It doesn't have that, like, you've seen videos of people getting tased. It's not like that. It's just like a sharp pain through your arm, and you like physically cannot grab onto the handle. Like, I'm trying to grab on, and I cannot grab onto the handle at all. That's crazy. Now coming here to the front, notice that the door functions the same as what's in the rear. And by the way, you do have blind spot monitoring, stuff functions, all of that. Now actually opening up the door and looking at the door panel, it looks identical to the rear. The only thing I noticed was different was the carbon fiber trim right here on the seat adjustments. You still get the really nice door handles, which again, those just kind of have like a nice satisfying feel and sound. And we'll also test out the windows here in the front in just a moment. Now here are the seats in the front, so you get that same beautiful quilted leather design. It does say AMG on the seat itself. Really nice bolsters on it, and again, you don't sacrifice any room, even though this does have all of the bulletproof stuff added to it. Here's what the pedals look like in the G63, and I think it's cool that this is red for the hood latch release, because it just makes you feel like you're doing something significant. You got your light controls right there, and there's one more look before we actually pop in. Now to start it up, you do have to put the key in, and that has been a staple of the G-Wagon for such a long time. And you will hear that beautiful 5.5 liter V8 come to life. Here's a quick look at the steering wheel on the G63. I really like the design on the steering wheel. It's super unique. You don't see a lot of steering wheels that look like this. So you have smoother leather at the top and at the bottom, and then you got perforated leather here on the sides that's a little bit grippier where you're actually gonna put your hands. Now you do have the paddle shifters where you can shift the gears yourself with that 7-speed automatic, and they're pretty straightforward. You got the down, and you've got the up. It's funny that they don't have a plus and minus. They tell you down and up for the gear shifts, which is just different. And then you still have all your controls for like the volume controls. And then over here, the controls for the little center gauge cluster, which we'll go over in a moment. But that is the steering wheel. Now here's the gauge cluster in the G63. Something I think is really cool is how they do like carbon fiber there in the background on the gauge cluster itself. But things are pretty simplistic here. They haven't changed a whole lot for a while, but basically just shows you different bits of vehicle information you can scroll through. I'm just gonna leave it to be a little speedo, and then notice that it does show you what you're in. So right now we're in park, so it says P up there, and that's just what the center stack looks like. The center screen, it's not a touchscreen. You actually have a little dial that you're gonna go through everything. I'll show you guys what the dial looks like in a second. But really the thing I wanted to focus on was the camera system, because it's pretty neat. So if we pop it into reverse, it'll pop up, and look at the warning that you get: risk of vehicle rolling away. Thank you for mentioning that. I think it's funny that Mercedes puts that in. But you can see that all of the camera views still work and everything. So even though, again, I know that I keep saying that they've added the armoring and everything works, but you gotta remember all of the wiring that they have to go through and all the stuff that they have to go around to put all this reinforcement, and the fact that everything still works the same from the factory is just astounding to me. Quickly in this area, obviously the G-Wagon has all of the differentials, so you can lock the front, the middle, and the rear. rear, and you get that nice little warning label that lets you know how to use those properly. And then something that's very interesting is you guys will notice that I have my air conditioned seat on. I can also turn the heated seat function on. So the AC is a fan in the seat, and then this is little heating coils in the seat that warm it up, and so you can have both of them on at the same time, which that would just make the seat neutral. But I guess if you want to have a fan and then the seat, I don't know. Someone's probably done it though, I imagine. All of your climate controls in this area, and then it has a pretty interesting shifter. So you have to just pull it down to get into drive, and then up for reverse. And then the button for park is an actual button that you press, and then that puts it into park. And then yes, you do get low range gearing on the G Wagon as expected. And then this is that little control dial for the infotainment system I was telling you about. I almost forgot to show you guys the window at the front, so you guys can see just how thick the window is. In terms of thickness, it's just a little bit like this little part right here. And it kind of extends past that, but the first little part is like as thick as your thumb, which is crazy to think about. And then over here with the center console, you've got some cool controls. So this is to do the electric door handles. That is for the tack release, and then this is for the smoke screen. So all those functions are right here, kind of like carefully hidden there in the center console. So as we're coming up to the top, you actually get Alcantara all along the pillars and then at the top here. Now with this, the whole roof has been reinforced in the G Wagon, which is just, again, crazy, but you gotta have your reinforcement everywhere, and that includes the top of the vehicle. Well, we're about to set off here in this G63, and well, I'm gonna prove to you guys right away that even though it's armored, it's still quick. Yeah, I mean, you guys can clearly see it's still really quick. And the cool thing about the G Wagon is this road is probably one of the most beat up roads on the planet, just because it hasn't been paved in a while, and it's so easy and comfortable to drive over. Like, it still drives just so nice. It's crazy just how smooth it is. But the first thing that I'm noticing here with the G Wagon is the fact that this doesn't feel that heavy. So again, you've got all the reinforcement on it, and it doesn't drive like crazy heavy or anything like that. It still feels pretty normal, just a larger sized SUV. You still get that same like king of the road presence up above the ground, which is pretty neat. And yeah, again, I just want to like hit that point home, is the fact that this still drives like a regular G Wagon. It still feels like a regular G Wagon, but it's a tank G Wagon. So something I want to quickly show you guys is the downshifts. So you can see that they happen pretty much instantaneous. So the transmission is really responsive on this vehicle, and I get some upshifts once this light goes and all that. But just from like a downshift perspective, the transmission is very responsive and very quick. And now you guys will be able to see the upshift response time here. Yeah, the upshifts are super quick as well. Now, the one thing that I am noticing that a lot of other reviewers have said about the G Wagons is there is a little bit of vagueness with the steering, and that's just expected. I mean, most larger SUVs like this have that vagueness. But yeah, overall, again, this just drives like any other G Wagon, and it feels just as quick, it feels just as responsive. But you have that like added fact and that like cool factor that you are pretty much driving a tank, but it doesn't look like a tank. It just looks like a regular civilian vehicle. Like, people would not notice that this is a fully armored vehicle, and it is, which is just crazy. And to close things out, the driving portion, I'll give you guys one more little acceleration here. It's quick. It's really quick.